We all know that interviews can cause a lot of anxiety and make people really, really nervous. I'm Engineer Elaine, and I'm here to help you through the engineering journey. And these are some of the common mistakes that I have seen as a hiring manager in the engineering interview process that I hope that you can be aware of so that you can improve the next time you have that job interview. So, the first is simply not being prepared. Know that there are a lot of applications that you fill out that you're tracking and applying to hundreds of companies, and it can be a lot to prepare for that interview. So it's important to really make sure that you are up on the specific company and the role that you applied to, that you got the interview for. So go in with the most current information that you have. Go to the company's website, look at their social media, see what the most current things are happening in that country, and just refresh yourself on what is happening in their world so that you go into that interview with them completely in mind. You're not thinking about all of the other applications that you filled out. You're not thinking about any other interviews that you might have in the works. You are there focused on that specific role and on that specific company. And that way, when they ask things like, why did you apply? What made you interested in this position? You have a really crisp, easy answer to go with. The worst is to hear things like, well, I am passionate about chemical engineering, and that's why I applied. That's a very general answer that could be given to any company, and the hiring managers know this. They're looking for something specific. Even worse is talking about the reality of your situation because they really don't care about that. So if you say things like, I have been applying to many, many different jobs for the past several months, that's great for you, but for them, they want to know why you are going to be a good fit for them, why they are going to invest their time and effort into hiring you into the position. So you want to have something very, very crisp and focused. So you can say things like, I have noticed that you have invested a lot of research and technology development recently in biofuels. I spent a summer working on a project with one of my professors in biofuels that I found really interesting. And this position advertised, this is a key component of the role. And I am really excited about applying what I learned and continuing to extend this research further. Simple things like that can help in your preparation for the interview. So just be as prepared as possible going into that interview. The second thing is not telling stories or providing answers that are way too short and make the interviewer feel like they're having to do a lot of work to pull the information out of you. You never want them to feel like, gosh, this conversation is just going nowhere. This person isn't giving me any information. I'm having to do a lot of work just to work through this process. I wish this interview was over. I have been there and trust me, you do not want that to be the case for why you are applying for the job. So when they say things like, maybe they're going to ask a question like, tell us about your experience questions, like, tell us about your experience in working in an analytical chemistry lab. You don't want to provide a simple answer like, yeah, I have experience. I worked in the analytical chemistry lab at my university for a summer as an assistant, and that was about 3 months of effort. And leaving it at that. It's like a long, awkward pause at the end. The interviewers will give you that space, and if there is no response, it'll be noticeable and it'll be awkward. So when you have that question come up, really show your fit into the position, why you are a good fit for that position, and also tell a story to go along with it. That's really what the interview is looking for. They're looking for, what is your personality? Are you a good fit to the organization? Are you somebody that they want to work with? That's really what they're trying to judge here, in this whole interview process. So give them answers that really allow your personality and your experience to shine. So it can be hard, to fit this in the amount of time provided, and you don't want to go too long. You want to manage your time, when you are telling stories. But just keep in your mind kind of a simple formula to walk through as you're telling your stories and your interview answers. So one is to focus on the challenge or the problem or the situation. Give kind of the background of the story. Then jump into what is it, the specific action that you took in the story? Why are you the main character of this story? And what is the result or the lesson that you learned from the experience? So have that in mind, as you're telling a story. Even better is to prepare for your interview and think about a handful of stories, 3 to 5 stories where in your career you really had those big experiences. You led a team, you worked through a challenge, you solved a technical problem, things like that. And craft those stories in your mind ahead of time. And that way you have a bank of stories ready to go to fit whatever question that they ask you. So make it to where you can bend your story around whatever type of information that they're trying to get from you. So if they're asking about, working on teams, or a time that you had a difficult technical challenge, or even like how to motivate people, have those specific stories from your experience ready to go and walk through that model to show them, this is your experience, this is how you dealt with it, and more importantly, this was the result, or this is what you learned from that experience. And that'll really, really help in keeping within the time allowed for an interview, but also making it memorable to the interviewer. Next, this is really, really key. Don't be arrogant. Don't walk in there with an attitude. Check the attitude at the door. You want to come in very humble, very, very gracious, very happy, that you are there. You want to be confident, but you don't want to be overconfident, because that will come through to the interviewer. They will get that vibe from you. So you want to keep it a balance. You want to be humble there, and you are there, to highlight your skills, but you are there to show them that you are going to be the best fit for their organization. So nobody wants to work with a jerk, and they do not want to see this coming through in an interview. So a couple other things to avoid that are subtle, that can be some traps to avoid. Don't criticize or point out things that are wrong in the organization, things that might be in the news or trouble that the company might be experiencing. Even if you go on a tour of the facilities and you see something, don't criticize the organization. You're trying to sell yourself to them. Another thing is, don't bring up controversial topics. You're trying to sell yourself. So don't focus on negative things that might be going on with their organization. And trust me, every organization, every company is dealing with something, right? It's all made up of people, and people are always dealing with things. They want to see you as somebody that is a solution person, that is going to help them and going to bring solutions to the table. So you want to keep focusing on the positive things, the opportunities. Definitely don't dwell on the negative things. And again, they're looking at you as a potential future coworker, and people just don't like working with jerks. They like working with people that are, pleasant to be around, that they can work with, that they can, work on these challenging projects with together. And in the interview process, you want to sell that as your key message to them. And then the questions at the end. This is a big one. So the questions at the end can really seal the deal for success, or make them cross you off of the list in the interview. And there are 2 ways as a hiring manager I have seen this go really, really badly. One, which is common, is not asking questions at the end. And then the second is asking the wrong type of questions. So when you get to the end, that's the opportunity to really, really close the deal and sell yourself and sell your skills. So when they ask, do you have any questions for us? And you come back with, no, you covered everything, thanks. That really sends a message that where is the interest? Where is the interest in the company, in the organization? You didn't learn everything possible about them in the interview. There have to be questions because you're still learning about them and they are still learning about you. So make sure you have those questions, because no questions can be just as bad as having bad questions. Um, the wrong questions that I have seen come up in interviews are focusing on the wrong things. Again, not coming forward with those opportunities, with being that solution type person, being that, positive, I am here to help your organization and I am here to be part of this team. Questions like, what is the expected salary? This is a question that you haven't even won the interview, right? You haven't won the game yet. So do not worry at this point in time about the salary. That's kind of showing the interviewer you're starting to count some eggs before they're hatched here. Okay. So leave that one for down the line when it is appropriate timing, and you'll be working it through HR and the appropriate processes. Another big one I've heard at the end here is, would I be able to telework? This is another one that is better left for later on down the line, when you're getting past this first round of interviews, when you're starting to get into, yes, we see you as a fit. How are we now going to work the details of the working relationship? And sometimes even in the job announcement, it will say if it has telework eligibility or not. And you don't want to bring up things that can be answered by reading the job requisite in the interview. Don't waste the interviewer's time on things like this, on information that is easily obtainable by searching and reading the job requisite. Another one that I've gotten in the past that is really a detriment is, do you think I am a top pick for this position? The interviewers are looking at a lot of different people. There's a lot of people that they've reviewed resume wise that they're probably interviewing. They're still making their decision. Number one, they can't provide you that decision right there on the fly. There are a lot of things that go into that decision making process, and they're not going to show the cards to you right at the end of an interview, when they need to still meet and talk about and digest the information that you gave them so they can make a decision. So you don't want to start forcing them into that uncomfortable position of something that they definitely cannot talk about at the end of your interview. They can't talk about it. Don't ask them about it. It's not gonna win you any points with them. In fact, it's going to be a detriment, and it's really going to make them question, oh my gosh, is this person that is really a good fit or not? So what to do in cases like this is that you should think ahead of time about your questions. Have your questions prepared, ready to go. Have about 3 questions ready. Usually you'll get to 1 or 2 of them depending on the amount of time that you have, but have 3 to 4 questions ready to go, and choose questions that will make them think, and then also make them share more about the organization, the company, or the working role, within the company. So some that I have used in the past are things like, what did you find surprising moving from a technical position to a leadership position? If there's something that's more technology focused, and you're going for more of a technical engineering position, what technical development areas do you find exciting that you're working on? This really gets people talking, because then they light up. They are now talking about something they want to talk about, which is what you want to have in the interview. You want to have them start talking about something comfortable, something that they enjoy and that they're passionate about, because that way they kind of let the guard down, and you start to talk more as people in these crucial last moments of the interview. And then also, one that I've used at the end was, to talk about looking forward, and the vision for the organization. So what are you hoping to have accomplished by the end of the quarter or the end of the year? Pick the appropriate time frame. But that really lets them talk about the vision of the organization, where they're going. And then at the end, you can kind of use that time to weave in that personal touch for your final closer statement. So when you do get to the end and it's time to thank them, this is really where you want to sum up and make it clear, okay, we're done and I've answered everything I'm answered, and you give them an easy way to close the interview. That really helps the interviewer. So definitely thank them for their time. Be sure you say that at the end. Be sure you say thank you, and then have 1 to 2 final closing sentences that are just your final, your final pitch to the end, to just, give your final pitch, sales pitch to them. So things that I've said in the past are, thank you for your time. And it's clear the energy that you have around this organization and the vision for the mission, or the vision for the product, if it's something that's a product they're working. And I look forward to bringing my skills in project management and chemical engineering to help meet the goals and objectives of the organization. Simple things like that, just, that you say what you mean, that you are looking forward to becoming part of the organization. You're leaving it on that positive kind of future momentum, future step taking to help build that momentum. So though there's a lot that goes on in interviews, this list could have been a heck of a lot longer, but I just wanted to kind of start off and give you some of the key things, some of the key, tripping points and mistakes that as a hiring manager in engineering, I have seen happen over and over again, just to see if it helps, as you prepare for your interviews. So there's much more that we could talk about as far as interviews that we'll keep talking about. If you have questions, please let me know. I'm happy to talk through and help you in your engineering journey as you progress. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one.